In today's biology class, I'm going to be treating the topic evolution with us. My name is Ajisafe Abdul Haq. First, the topic outlines. Today's class encompasses 5 outlines. The first, evolution. Number 2, Darwin's theory of evolution. Number 3, types of evolution. Number 4, how natural selection works. And the last outline for today's class is effects of genes with natural selection. The objectives of today's class are: at the end of this class, you should all be able to define evolution, know what Darwin's theory of evolution is all about, state the type of evolution, and know how natural selection works. Now to the definition of evolution. What is evolution? Evolution is the change in the characteristics of a species over several generations and relies on the process of natural selection. Evolution relies on there being genetic variation in a population which affects the physical characteristics, which is the phenotype of an organism. Some of these characteristics may give the individual an advantage over other individuals, which they can then pass on to their offsprings. Now, Darwin's theory of evolution. Charles Darwin is a scientist, and he stated a theory on evolution in one of his books on the origin of species in 1859. Darwin defined evolution as the process by which organisms change over time as a result of changes in heritable physical or behavioral traits. To buttress this, what Darwin is saying is that all species of organisms arise and develop through the natural selection of small inherited variations that increase the individual's ability to compete, survive, and reproduce. Now, to the types of evolution. In today's class, I will be discussing 3 types of evolution with us. The first type of evolution I will be discussing is convergent evolution. What is convergent evolution? Convergent evolution is when the same adaptation evolve independently under similar selection pressures. For example, flying insects, birds, and bats have all evolved the ability to fly, but independently of each other. The second type of evolution is coevolution. Coevolution is when 2 species or group of species have evolved alongside each other, where one adapts to changes in the other. For example, flowering plants and pollinating insects such as bees. The third type of evolution I'll be talking about is adaptive radiation. Adaptive radiation occurs when a species splits into a number of new forms, when a change in the environment makes new resources available or creates new environmental challenges. As illustrated in the picture attached to it, to adaptive radiation, the species in the picture actually evolved and changes as the environment changes. They started with a large beak until they now have a tiny beak, and that tiny beak is what suits them best, what fits them best in the environment they are. How natural selection works. According to Charles Darwin, theory of evolution, which states that evolutions happen by natural selection. Individuals with characteristics best suited to their environment are more likely to survive, finding food, avoiding predators, and resisting diseases. Individuals in a species show variation in physical characteristics. This variation is because of differences in their genes. These individuals are more likely to reproduce and pass their genes on to their children. Natural selection in action of the peppered moth. I'll be taking an example of how natural selection works, and the example is going to be based on an insect called the peppered moth. Before the Industrial Revolution in the mid-1700s, the peppered moth was most commonly a pale whitish color with black spots. That's what the peppered moths look like. In the mid 1700s. This coloring enabled them to hide from potential predators on trees with pale colored bark, such as the birch tree. As the Industrial Revolution reached its peak, the air in industrial areas became full of soot. This stained trees and buildings black. As a result, the lighter moths became much easier to spot than the darker ones, making them vulnerable to be eaten by birds and other potential predators. The darker moths were now camouflaged against the soot-stained tree and therefore less likely to be eaten. As illustrated in the picture, the peppered moth showed in the picture consists of white and black spots, which is similar to the tree it's on. So it's going to be difficult, a little bit difficult for predators such as birds to eat them. Effects of genes with natural selection. What does gene have to do with natural selection? The mechanism of evolution operates at the genomic level. Changes in DNA sequences affect the composition of expression of our genes, the basic units of inheritance. To understand how different species have evolved, we have to look at the DNA sequences in their genomes. Our evolutionary history is written into our genome. The human genome looks the way it does because all the genetic changes that affected our ancestors. For example, humans and the fruit flies share much of their DNA. In fact, 75% of genes that causes diseases in humans are also found in the fruit fly. Now, I'll be taking us through the evolution of human being. As illustrated, human beings have evolved through 5 stages, from being called great apes, which is referred to as the Australopithecus afarensis, down to Homo sapiens. Now we are referred to as Homo sapien, from where we were called great apes because our forefathers looked like apes then. So they refer to them as great apes, Australopithecus afarensis. Then to Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and till we are now Homo sapiens. Now assignments. I'll be giving you 3 questions to make up today's assignment. The first question is, well, who is Darwin? Question number 2, what is the theory of natural selection? And the last question for today's class is, what species does human evolve from? Remember, your assignments are to be submitted online through the email training@educom.ng. Thank you.